Okay, so here's the thing that I just could not figure out for so long. So a lot of you saw Mauro or I watering by hand all summer long, and quite rightly made the comment that we should probably install some sort of automatic watering system like drip irrigation. Yeah, very true, we knew that. We also were aware that watering with a hose by hand wasn't sustainable in the long run, takes a lot of time. The thing is, we had actually already begun working on drip irrigation several months before, in April. It hadn't quite gone according to plan. I hadn't shared anything about it because it was just like an unfinished project that I didn't quite know where it was going or when it was going to end, so I just didn't share anything. But lately I've kind of had more of an idea about how it could work, what we could do. Ideas have been like going around in my head over the summer and talking to lots of people and seeing what other people are doing has really helped. So I'm kind of back on the irrigation project, and we've got lots of ideas for what we want to do there, so I thought this would be a good time to update you on what we did back in April, what worked, what didn't, and where we're going to try and go with this. Look at this ridiculous contraption. So this is what I'm going to try and attach to the bottom of the water deposit. I'm going to explain what this is. So this is the exit of the water deposit. This is a tap that's been cemented into the bottom of the deposit, and the deposit is now full. So ignore all of this other stuff. This is just rubbish that was left here before. We're not using any of that. The deposit is full. You can see it overflowing here. This little overflow trickles down here, collects in this little basin down here, and this tap I can open it. This was already in place before from previous owners, probably from when the deposit was first constructed, I don't know. And I didn't really think too hard about this, what it was doing there, whether it would be useful to me in the future when I filled the deposit. I mean, it's not useful, but my challenge has been to figure out how to connect drip irrigation to this. And what I'm going to do, I think, is with this big thing, attach it here. So, sorry, I can't maneuver this and hold the camera. So this is going to go in there. This is I think it's a 65mm, 67, I don't know. Gonna stick it in there with some glue and then cement around it to be even more sure that it's secure. There's a exit, a T coming off up here. This is going to go to a hose pipe tap that's going to be mounted on the wall so we can get water out through a hose. That tap will be open and remain open. Then I've got a proper tap, a nice metal tap here, closed and open. That'll be the tap that I use all the time. We've then got a filter, a sediment filter in here, and then coming through this gap in the wall. So this wall is part of the original acequia system. These canals would be used for flood irrigation. Water comes down here and comes out of these little gates. So the pipe's going to stick out through this little gate, and I'll cut it off here and put a T-junction in, and then we'll have a main pipe running along the back of these beds just in front of the flood irrigation wall. And from there, from that main pipe, we'll take numerous little smaller pipes off in this direction to irrigate the different beds. So for a bit of background, that was my plan, and although I sound fairly confident in that clip, I actually wasn't super confident at all because I was aware that we didn't have the right amount of water pressure coming out of this deposit behind me that you're supposed to have for drip irrigation to work. It's actually a little complicated to work out what pressure you need. There's a lot of variables at play. There's the length of the pipes you've got, the type of emitter, the number of emitters, how far the water has to travel, whether there's any like ups and downs in the piping that you're going to have, the different diameters of piping that you might be using in different places. So there's a lot to take into account, and it's generally very hard to know exactly what pressure you're going to need for your drip system to work really well. But what I was reading was that you need about 1 bar of pressure generally as a minimum, which is about 14 psi. 1 bar of pressure can be obtained if you have about 10 meters roughly of head on your water. So if you have water that's 10 meters up a hill, or if you have a container that's 10 meters tall and it's full, then you've got 10 meters of head on your water and you'll have 1 bar of pressure roughly coming out the bottom. In this deposit where the tap was, I had roughly about 1.5 meters of head. So I know I had nowhere near the pressure that was required. But what I wasn't sure about was whether it would just mean that the drips dripped really slowly and it wasn't like perfect, or whether it was just going to be like completely unusable. So yeah, my plan at this point was to try it out anyway, and I also put quite a lot of faith in what local people tell me, because they know what people are doing around here. And some local guys had told me that what I needed to do was just fit a proper tap to the bottom of my deposit, put drip irrigation in. They said the pressure will work fine, that's what you got to do. And here's some more footage of me continuing down that futile path. Just going to jump in here to say how crazy it is to look back at the garden 8 months ago. I didn't realise how much it had changed. Anyway, after clearing out these canals so that I had a dry area to work in and install this tap, I cemented in this massive pipe filter contraption into the bottom of the deposit. For a while.
Can do one of those 2 hours late. Oh, that's the noise. It's the noise of happiness.
Is it supposed to be this hard? Do you remember when I shoved all this drip irrigation line in here? The pressure is so bad.
Well, my work.
Yeah, so it's just
we've been doing is clearly an experiment. Like, we are happy to get water sort of where we want it, experiment of how many lines we're gonna need per bed, and clearly we need a pump. Obviously we don't have nearly enough pressure, so what we were thinking of doing is clearing this area and just make like a little pump house here. So have the solar panel and the pump, and then the pipe would come in from there, it would go into the pump, and then we would feed this main line from here with the D, and then it would get pressure all along the line. So that's sort of the plan. We'll see how much we can adhere to it.
So at this point we realised that drip wasn't going to work as it was straight out the bottom of the deposit, and we first thought, well, what we need then is a pump to give us the pressure that we need here. And I had this idea that I would build like a little pump house just in front of the deposit so that I could put the pump in there. I would run like a cable round from the solar shed at the back of the house, round the side of the garden, it's not that far, to power the pump. And that was just kind of the plan that first popped into my head, but I never started working on that, I guess because I wasn't really happy with it and I didn't really feel like it was the perfect solution, even though I wasn't sure what the perfect solution could be. The reason it didn't feel perfect was because either the pump was going to be electric and run off the solar, or it was going to be petrol powered. I didn't really want a petrol powered pump because we're trying to avoid running this farmstead in any way that relies on fossil fuels. It's just part of the goal and the dreams that we have for it, so going down that path didn't really feel good to me. An electric pump would have been great, but the awkward thing is that you want to be watering in the morning or the evening when it's cool. And that's when you have the least energy available. We would be drawing a lot of energy from the batteries at a time when the batteries are not doing necessarily the best. The ideal time to use a pump or something that sucks a lot of power would be the middle of the day where it's sunny and you've got like excess watts that aren't going anywhere because your batteries are already charged. But you don't want to be watering in the middle of the day, so it just didn't sit right. It didn't feel like a good solution. So I just never started working on it because I wasn't happy with the plan. What I later realised that we needed to do in order to get the pressure that we need to have a chance at drip irrigation in this field is move water high up during the middle of the day when it's nice and sunny and we've got all of those extra watts, and then use the natural pressure that we'll have by having that water stored many meters higher than where we're going to be using it to give us the pressure we need for our drip irrigation. And it just so happens that we actually have a much higher point on our land. Looking at contour maps, I think it's about 11 or 12 meters higher than our main field, so that's perfect. It's up round the back behind the ruin. It's a little awkward to get to, but all we need to do is run a pipe down from there if we can get the water up there in the first place. The ideal thing would be to have an automatic system that automatically kicks in to a pump when there's enough watts available and when it recognises that the tanks have some capacity to be filled a little more. I know this is possible, I don't know exactly how to set it up, but at some point that's what we want to do. So when I realised that this is what we needed to be working towards in the long run, I definitely just left the drip irrigation project because I knew we weren't going to be able to get anything further sorted on that until we had this water high up pumping situation sorted. What I did do was buy some extra IBC tanks when I found that some were available secondhand, and we moved them up to the top of the hill ready, although in reality we'll probably try and have more than 3, maybe like 6 in total. So I was thinking, this handy little patch of flat ground here, yeah? So we just need to get it down that rocky slope. And there's room for 3 or maybe even more deposits there, I think. So that was really just the start of the project. Since then I haven't worked on it or done anything else because I think the next thing I need to figure out is the pump and how that's all going to work. But it just hasn't made its way to the top of our priority list yet. We got through the summer watering by hand. It wasn't that bad. It was quite relaxing. I quite enjoyed it, and I could definitely do another summer before I got completely fed up with it. So that's the situation right now with the drip irrigation. But what I have been working on is getting some flood irrigation installed in another field that we've got, because I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket with this. The pumping water and using gravity and stuff is cool, but I still don't know for sure if it's going to work. And I really was drawn to the idea of flood irrigation, something really simple, something really low tech, something that actually will work just with the gravity that we've got from this deposit here. That's how it was done in the past with these channels, like you've seen. But I had an idea for how I could potentially do some flood irrigation without using the channels, because fixing them all would have been a really big job. And in my experience, keeping these channels clean and empty of debris, because we do have some other channels where we do have water flowing, is a bit of a constant battle. And I wanted something a little bit lower maintenance, maybe. So I started this project of kind of alternative flood irrigation a few weeks ago, and it's actually been going quite well. So I'm going to share that with you. So this is our first flood irrigation bed. You can see the channel, kind of a depression here. It's quite green, there's quite a lot of stuff growing in it. And the bed on the side, well, I sowed green manure into the bed and it's coming up, it's doing alright. So we've got some Moreus pea type plants coming up here, not sure what they're called in English. We've got lots of mustard greens coming up, some oats, some vetch. So everything in the channel is doing quite well. A big cluster of vetch here. I don't know why all the seeds seem to have rolled into this spot, but they have. I do think though that the bed that we've got on this side is too wide. I think for the kind of flood irrigation I'm doing, which is not just flooding a whole field, it's going down kind of channels. I think this is too much space to be irrigated by this channel, like the water just doesn't kind of seep into the middle. I was trying to line all the channels up with these little doors in the stone canal. There's 7 or 8 of them down this side of the field, so I was planning to do 7 or 8 channels and 7 or 8 beds just along in this direction, but I think this is just too wide. I think I need to make the beds narrower and put more channels in between. So that means I won't be able to use these little doors, which to be honest I wasn't going to do anytime soon anyway, because this canal needs a lot of work to make it usable. It's very broken. So what I'm going to do instead is bring some of this 40mm polyethylene piping along the side of the field, put some little taps in it where I want the channels to be. I'm also really happy to find a use for this piping because we've got about 300 meters of it, which we bought for a project which just didn't work, and it's not cheap, so being able to reuse it for something is a big bonus. Okay, so that is it. That is basically what I wanted to test. I've just installed this tap here, which is about 75 meters from the water deposit. The pipe just ends over there. This is like the furthest point that I might want to irrigate using water just from a tap. So I would want to open this little tap here, flood potentially a channel coming along here. And I've just put this tap in at the furthest point so that I can see if the water actually reaches here with any kind of decent pressure, having travelled 75 meters all the way back along here. From this T, which in this direction here feeds from the bottom of the water deposit. Okay, here's the first one. I'm pretty sure water's going to come out of here, no problem. Ooh, will it? Okay, there we go. Now let's try this furthest one. Ooh. Okay, yeah, pretty good. Okay, this is really good to see. I'm really happy about this because this basically means I can irrigate this whole area without using a pump, just using gravity. That was like really what I wanted to try and be able to do. So I'm just going out to pick up some final supplies for the irrigation. Glad to be getting out of the house because it's been raining the last couple of days, and it's been the weekend, so the shops that I need to go to weren't open. Now it's Monday, they're open again, so I've just got like 9 more little through connector things that I need to pick up that weren't there last time. All the other stuff had already arrived, so I picked it all up. It's surprising how much this stuff costs. I probably could have got like cheaper taps and cheaper pieces, but I want stuff that's going to last and withstand the sun, and I had already done tests of these particular kind of pieces and it worked well. So yeah, I'm just talking at this point because the camera's on but I'm driving, so how am I going to turn it off? How do people do this? So I've got my box of supplies here, I've got my tea pieces and all my little taps and all these little fittings that I bought the other day. And today's job is adding the rest of the taps along this main pipe here, along this field. So from another angle, there's the main pipe going along the side there, there's the chicken coop around the back, and I'm just gonna be putting in the taps to irrigate this strip that goes along here. Going for taps every 70-ish, 75 centimetres. I'm also going to tidy up this field a bit, take out things like these canes that are in the middle and the temporary goat enclosure, move that somewhere else, because what I would like to do is borrow or rent a rotavator to go through this field, turn over just the top layer of soil, break it up a little bit, especially now since it's nice and damp, the soil, and easy to move, and then sow some green manure into it. So that's kind of my plan, not for now, not for this week or this video, but that's where I want to be going. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I just cannot open any one of these taps. I've tried several of them and they're stuck in the open position. Ugh. Like, it's normal for them to be a bit stiff at the beginning, and the first time you open it sort of loosens it up. That's what's happened with the other ones, but I just cannot even get this open, and it's all of them, they're all the same, so I don't know what to do. Hit it with something? There we go. Okay, I've got my taps all in along here. I need to come back and tighten up some of these joins because it's really hard to turn this bit, which I need to do whilst keeping the rest of it in position so that the taps are all pointing in the same way. I think we need one person holding on to this part with 2 hands and 1 person turning, so I'll have to see if Mauro can help me with that at some point, but I wasn't going to use them right now anyway. I just wanted to get them all in place. There's a little gap at the end here before the taps start, which is deliberate because the field is not exactly square. There's actually a little cement wall down here which kind of points inwards and makes the field a little bit more triangular. So if I'm kind of standing in front of the final tap and the beds are straight, we're going to end up with a triangle area here. So I haven't decided what to do with that triangle, hence not putting any taps in this section just yet. We also do need some kind of access down here from the path coming around here to get to the chicken coop and whatever else we do in that field, so I'm just going to leave this area empty for now and decide how we're going to do that. So that basically brings us up to the present day with the irrigation system. I hope you found that useful or interesting. We haven't really gone too far in any direction yet, so there's still lots of time to consider other factors and ideas, or completely change our minds. So I would love to hear what you think, whether you've got any suggestions or comments. I would love to read them. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.